Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Work Comp Talk. My name is Carmen, and joining me today,
Bilal, Kassem from Pacific Workers.
literally from Pacific Workers. You guys might be looking at our setup today and you're like, where the heck did these guys go? So we are actually at Pacific Workers, the Lawyers for Injured Workers headquarters in the city of Oakland, California. As you guys can see in our background, you might recognize some of the buildings if you're familiar with the city of Oakland. And we thought we'd change it up for you today.
Yeah, it's good to mix it up.
Yeah, speaking about changing it up and mixing it up, we're going to do the same with our content for today. So we're going to gossip a little bit. Who doesn't love gossip? I'm a girl, sorry. We love to gossip. But it's going to be for a good reason. And it is tied into particularly people that work here in the Bay Area. And unfortunately, we're going to talk about a not so pretty side of one of the most known car manufacturers in the world. And that is Tesla. Yeah, we have it here in the Bay Area, here in California. There's a ton of people that work. There's buildings left and right. I mean, I know there's one in Livermore. I know there's one in Fremont.
Yep.
They are a monster when it comes to giving jobs. And they do a lot of good because they pay well, from what I've heard.
Yeah, apparently they pay great.
Yeah, but there's also a bad side to it. And there's also a lot of stuff that is happening. And the only reason we can sit here, Bilal, and gossip about this is because we see it in our business here at Pacific Workers.
Yeah, firsthand. I think at this point we've had 170 cases come through our door over just a very short period of time, a couple of years. And yeah, there's this pretty sexy side of Tesla that you see. Everyone talks about Elon Musk and him posting memes and how Teslas are so great and they're changing the world. And there's that beautiful side of Tesla. And then there's the dark side of Tesla. And I think it's a side that is often under-discussed and underappreciated.
Yeah, I agree. And we say there's the beautiful side and the pride that people take into, hey, I work at Tesla. Like, look at me, right? There's also a side that, and we get to talk about this, not only because of the fact that we've had 170 cases come into our office, which ultimately, Bilal, that's not normal. From one company, 170 cases?
It's a lot. And, we have a lot of giant Bay Area companies here who are very notorious for injuries. Blue Apron, we have Amazon and FBA and all that stuff. And Tesla is just uniquely a giant portion of cases that we get in the Bay Area. And
so thank you, Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's crazy because Tesla... You look at Tesla and everyone is proud of it, right? It's the first new American auto manufacturer in a very long time that has taken the world by storm. It's literally changing the world in the automotive industry and throwing the gas guzzling world into the past and moving us forward in the future with electrification of cars and stuff. And it's fantastic and all of that. But there's a lot behind the scenes that makes that happen. And some of it's cool and some of it's not so pretty. Yeah. And from my understanding, having represented now a lot of people, is that they don't particularly treat their workers very well.
Yeah. So if you're new to the podcast, we really want you to dive into the podcast. There's so much information you can get off of it. We have done a ton of videos that regard workers' comp. There's so much things that are relatable to injuries at work. So much information you can actually get from the podcast. If you don't know Bilal is the president and co-founder of Pacific Workers. The Lawyers for Injured Workers is a law firm based here out of Oakland. We have 6 offices throughout Northern California, and we're excited that you found us. And if you have been following us and you have subscribed, thank you so much for doing so. Tesla, amazing, but not so much. And I'll tell you why. Do you remember not that long ago, there in the news, there was an employee who got shot in the parking lot by another employee with an AR? Like, who can say, my job, this is what happens to you? One.
Yeah, it's not the most common type of injury we see. That's certainly.
No.
And, Tesla is an attractive place to work because of their compensation practices. Yeah. And they've tried to scale up so incredibly quick to fulfill orders and manufacturing quotas that they've hired a ton of people, some maybe that they shouldn't have. And it's become a very dangerous place to work.
It has. I mean, personally have a couple of my family members that work in there. So I get a lot of the inside information of what happens behind the scenes.
Share, please.
Okay, so let
Story
me tell
time.
you. Okay, so they have a clinic that's inside their facility. So let's just say something were to happen to you. You go there first.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times they try to pretend like it's nothing. Let's bandage it up and you're good to go.
Your arm's missing. Here's some Tylenol. You should go back to the production line.
Take some ibuprofen and you're set. Kind of. They try to treat most of the minor injuries inside, which led to, I don't know if you remember, there was that part where back in 2018, 2019, there was a big scandal because OSHA found out that Tesla was underreporting the injuries.
Yeah, by a huge number.
Yeah.
And I think, for those that aren't familiar, whenever there's an injury where there's lost time from work and there's, a serious component to it, the injury gets reported to OSHA, and then OSHA comes and does an investigation to determine whether or not there's been violations of California's OSHA safety orders and things like that, and they'll fine the company. And so I think what was happening is that you had this on-site clinic and you had the doctors there who were getting pushed back from Tesla to say, hey, you know what? Make this look like it's not so bad,
Yep. And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
They make it look like it's not so horrible. There's a number of reasons why injuries happen. We know there's robots involved. We know the extensive amount of time people are working. They're giving the people essentially a shorter work week, but more hours. What happens? People have lives. People live. People have families.
Yep.
There's no way in the world you can kind of sort of compensate the amount of sleep your body needs to recover before you have to go back to work. A lot of these people don't live near the Tesla facilities. They live further out.
Yeah.
Travel time. So it's essentially not a really great idea. I get the whole concept. And by all means, if there is a 4-week work schedule, I would totally jump into it. But if it wasn't that extensive of a job.
Yeah, you're talking about people who are working 12 hours, sometimes longer.
Yeah.
You have people that are commuting to the Fremont facility, for example,
Yeah.
all the way from like Stockton or Central Valley, and locations where they're sitting in the car an hour plus each way.
Traffic. Yeah, it's horrible.
I'm dead after 10 hours, 8 hours. Sometimes I'm exhausted, especially if I have stuff going on in my private life too. And I can't imagine back to back over and over and over again, grinding it out on the manufacturing line and not coming out unscathed, and walking away and being like, yeah, I never got hurt during whatever time I worked there. That's just not possible.
It's insane. So it's a lot of factors that come into play. That's some of the stuff I have from, my family members that, sometimes they'll come like, man, the stuff we have to do sometimes, we have to push our bodies and push our limits to try to make it happen because they don't take no for an answer. Like, you got to get it done or you're out. And you have to pay your bills.
Yeah.
What are some of the injuries that we see constantly here at Pacific Workers?
We see a lot of repetitive stress injuries, cumulative trauma. So like if you're there and like, let's say you're working overhead on a vehicle all day, so your arms are extended up, so you're blowing out your shoulders.
Besides the bunnies you get.
Exactly.
I go to the gym.
Have you seen my toolkit? Is it there? Is it there? It's right here. Yeah, no, it's you see a lot of repetitive stress injuries, a lot of overuse injuries and things like that. There's also a lot of specific injuries. When you're tired and you've been working 12 hours, you make mistakes.
Heck yeah, you can't think straight.
Yeah, you get sloppy. And maybe you don't get sloppy, maybe your coworker does.
Yeah.
Maybe your coworker's not paying attention. Maybe you pay the price for that. And so we do see a lot of specific injuries where people get crush injuries and stuff. We actually see a lot of, I guess it'd be malfunctioning type injuries, the tools and third-party robots and machinery that they use for the manufacturing process. That happens too at work. And that takes it out of workers' comp. That becomes a third-party lawsuit, but it's still a work injury to some extent. I mean, it's both, but you get to sue the manufacturer of the tool or the robot or whatever is being used that was defective. And we've seen that a lot too. So it's a combination of injuries. At the end of the day, I think the common theme that most of our clients share is they want to work. They just can't keep up with the work pace that Tesla expects from them, which is like borderline inhuman. It's this very high-paced pressure cooker type environment. And it's kind of like, maybe I'll date myself a little bit, but in the 80s, there's this manufacturing push to keep up with Japan and Japan's manufacturing capabilities and competing with the United States automotive industry. And Detroit was a shaky area because it was crumbling because they were losing market share to foreign companies. And so there was this huge push to be industrious and keep up with that. And when I'm thinking about the manufacturing war between Japan and United States in the automotive industry back then, it kind of, I'm thinking like Tesla is an 80s company who's trying to make a name for himself. They have this humongous market cap by stock value, and so they have this immense pressure to manufacture and distribute as many Teslas throughout the known world as they can.
As they can, yeah.
And that's a tremendous amount of pressure. And I think ultimately it trickles down from management to your frontline workers, who are the people who are working 12, 13 hours a day on the manufacturing line, really injuring themselves all the time.
And I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, everyone's going to be living that exact scenario. We're not trying to throw shade in any way, shape, or form for those that actually did get a career out of it. You know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of positivity behind it. It's just thinking about today's subject in general, today's topic, we did want to shed the light on some of the stuff that we see, the uglier side of Tesla, because it's a reality. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It is something that happens. You know, you were mentioning some of the accidents being cumulative trauma because they're doing the exact same thing every single day. But there's also those accidents where, like, they're tired. Someone dropped the ball, or you're just spaced out, and all of a sudden a machine crushes your hand. You know, we do know that they like to make it seem like, oh, working for Tesla is super easy because they have robots. The robots do everything. You just kind of have to make sure the robots just do their thing. But it's like, no, that's not exactly what it is.
Some jobs, I imagine, you know, there's
maybe there is.
There's more cushy departments, I'm sure.
Yep.
There's also really stressful departments, and they have, you know, quotas per day where they have to hit, you know, 200 plus cars if doing the same exact thing. Like, if you're the trunk guy or the girl, like, you're the trunk guy or girl, and like, you're doing 200 plus trunks a day, and it's the same mechanical movements. And depending on how your body positioning is and the ergonomics and stuff, that's just a recipe for disaster. You're doing that 5-6 days a week. And then you have an on-site clinic whose job it is to, you know, give immediate emergency care. But in reality, we know what that means, right? Go back to work.
It's like, here, slap a Band-Aid and go back to work.
Which is a different experience from a lot of other work comp situations. So a lot of employers don't have on-site clinics, right? Like, if you're Bob's Hamburger Shop, you don't have a medical professional on staff there that handles injuries and stuff. You have an industrial clinic and you ship people out. And so you have a little bit of a different experience going from an on-site clinic to, you know, another type of workers' comp case where maybe you have another fair opportunity to have your injuries evaluated. Yeah. So it's it's a bit of a different world, I have to say, at the very least. And at the end of the day, I think people want to work for Tesla. A lot of my clients who get injured there, they like the company. They feel good about doing something that's good for the world and that's building community and jobs. And it's that component to it's great. I think I wish Tesla from an employer perspective would know its limits a little more and really reflect on the fact that maybe we're having so many injuries, we're having so many problems. Maybe we should change our labor practices.
Maybe. I mean, it could happen. But that's not the case. Let's be real. It's not happening anytime soon because this is the way they're working and this is what's been going on. What are some of the other things that you've seen? Like, can you give what the life of a person who's gotten injured, how has this affected someone? Has this changed their life? Do they go back to work? Do some of these people not go? Like,
some do, some don't. It's case by case basis. You know, a lot of Tesla gives out stock as part of their compensation packages. And there's vesting requirements. And I've had several clients who have banked on the fact that their stock's going to vest, and then they get injured and they're off of work, and then their stock doesn't vest because they never actually go back to work. And so they in their mind, when they took the job, they thought, hey, this is a great place. They pay well. They take care of us. They give us great benefits. And as it turns out, it's like, well, you didn't meet these technical requirements for your stock to vest, even though you got hurt busting your butt working for us. And so go away, bye, that's it. You know, figure it out. And so
nice to know you.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of clients I have, though, that ultimately they want to go back to Tesla, and some do. And, you know, they've been able to find modified work and go into a different department that's maybe not so physically strenuous. And to the extent they have, I think a lot of those clients are happy going back to work. There's others that are just like, I'm done with Tesla. I don't want anything to do with them.
You know, I've heard a lot of stuff that happens within the employees, which is I guess you could say it's an atmosphere that's very hostile, and a lot of people don't really even know that when they're coming in. They paint the pretty picture. And again, I'm telling you this because of the fact that I have family members that work there. There is so many people coming in from different areas, even out of state, that potentially don't get along.
Yeah, I think that might have actually been you that showed me the photo of all these people reporting to work on the first day. And there's literally a line out the door of
Yep.
like, I don't know, 50 plus people.
On their first day of work.
Their first day of work. Owning a business, I can tell you how hard it is to onboard one single person and ensure that culturally they're a good fit for the firm, that everyone gets along, that they're given all the materials and training they need to be successful, and give them the time and attention they deserve as a new employee.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see Tesla who's like, hey, 500 people, come on, let's go. Like, let's do this. And like, here, just start work.
And essentially, you know what it is? They actually work with a lot of third-party companies. So they'll staff from another company. They'll get all the people from another company, and then they just start working as contractors. Because what happens then? Tesla doesn't have to pay for workers' comp because they're contractors.
Exactly. It's like a common tech thing. Like Google does that.
Yeah.
And, you have Facebook where they hire like, what's the company? Bon Appetit to come in and who staffs the kitchens. And they have all these like contractors. So it's like, cool, we don't have to pay for work comp insurance because it's this other person's responsibility.
Yep. And then what happens there? This staff agency or this third-party company that's actually staffing the people, they don't really know what's going on at Tesla.
No.
They're not, they're not there.
Nope.
Essentially. So there's a lot that happens.
It's shady. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's just shifting costs around. And I mean, personally, I could tell you how much money we've cost Tesla in my firm. Sorry. But, it's good. It's going from Tesla to the people who deserve it, who are injured at work. That's for sure.
Ultimately, this is not a podcast that we're just trying to throw shade. It's more for you to get an idea of the things that do happen. And there are rights. There's a lot of people, for example, that go to the in-house clinic that they have there, and they don't know better. They think, well, the doctor at work told me this is what I'm going to do. What happens? You don't tend to that injury soon enough, and then it's a life-changing injury because you took too long to even fix the problem.
Yeah.
And this is something very important that most of the people that work at Tesla probably don't even know.
No, and there's also a fair number of our clients, they never even wanted to report the injury in the first place. And I don't think Tesla really knew what was going on. And the person really just tried to kind of work their way through it because they're like, hey, Tesla's this great place to work. And it is. They're a great company doing great things. But I think they were afraid of the fact that, hey, if I report this injury, I'm going to get sent to the on-site clinic. I'm going to be put on work restrictions. I'm going to be out of a job and such. And so I think there's that component of it, too, from the employee side. And so I think to some extent, some injuries may even be underreported just by virtue of the fact that the employee is not necessarily reporting them as well.
Now, if we as a law firm have that amount of cases, imagine the insurance companies. That we're just one law firm. There's more than one law firm in the Bay Area. Imagine how many accidents are happening day in, day out. And then there's the insurance company who, oh, great, another Tesla. They're probably so over it, so done, which could potentially make the experience even worse for the injured worker. And the only reason I say it, I have a friend, who worked at Tesla. This person got injured. Something happened along the lines that this person had to get a lawyer. It's been probably 2+ years, and this person is still working with the workers' comp and dealing with all of the injuries. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I have to say so there's a company, Sedgwick, they are adjusters or third-party administrators for Tesla. And so there's I guess the adjusters probably have a lot of experience specifically with Tesla, but you see the same defense attorney assigned to most of the Tesla cases and stuff. So we all see each other over and over again. It's a very small world, but they do a lot of business. They have a lot of cases. They have a lot of injuries. And I'm curious, I know how many cases I've had in my office, which is a lot for one employer. And I'm not sure, am I a big fish in the pond, or are there firms out there that have more cases than I do? And sometimes I wonder just, how often are people really getting injured? How many people are actually having problems with the workers' comp? But I can say with certainty, the process is the same. Whether you're at Tesla or Blue Apron or otherwise.
Or Amazon.
If you get hurt, it's workers' comp, and it is a really crappy process to go through.
Unfortunately, it is. And with that, we're going to conclude the gossip and And, talking about left and right things that are happening on some of the most important, businesses here that are very known out in the world in general. So I'm pretty sure this is not the first time we're going to dive into it. Just to give an idea of things do happen. You might want to think about it twice before you accept that job. Is it really going to be worth it? And if it's something that it's pushing you to your limits, you definitely might want to think about it twice for sure. They could be life-changing injuries. Who knows? There has been a lot of deaths that happen as well. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up. And if there's anything you guys would love for us to talk about in the podcast and we haven't touched the subject yet, please feel free to reach out to us, comment. Oh my God, TikTok's been trending for us. TikTok, everyone dubs their messages there. Yes, we're on TikTok. And you can also write to us at info@pacificworkers.com. It's a pleasure. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Bilal.
Yep.